Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high. Cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold on, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live. Somebody, let's go.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys are all doing well out there, enjoying your day, making it positive, making it wonderful, and all that stuff. Man, it's Thursday. At least it's Thursday for me. For those of y'all who are watching this later on, I mean, you know, Thursday is gone and past, but I am very excited about it being Thursday. Why, you may ask? Because we're getting that much closer to the weekend, y'all. The dang weekend. And I'm very excited about that, okay, on a positive note. But we got to quickly, take a quick left turn into something that is very disturbing, in my personal opinion, and very sad. And very confusing, because there's a lot of different things being told out here. Some things from law enforcement, some things being told from the family. Of course, I'm getting ahead of myself, as usual. But there's a story of this young boy, 12-year-old Sean Doherty. Hopefully, I'm saying his last name right and all that. But this story is very strange, y'all. It's a very, very strange one indeed. And there's a lot of speculation on what actually happened to this young boy, which of course we have got to get into very, very shortly. But nonetheless, I hope you guys are all enjoying your Thursday. If you guys are just closing out your Thursday, I hope it's a positive one for you guys. All right. I hope it was a good one and you did whatever you needed to do. But we got to jump into this story. We got to get into these things. So do me a favor. Hit that like button down below. You know the procedure. Hit that like button down below. Set it past 100 likes. I see a bunch of you guys starting to file in. We got to talk about this. This is very strange. This is a very, very strange story. We have got to talk about it. I got so many questions, y'all. So we're going to get into it. And please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If this is your first time checking out this channel, checking out this show, welcome to the Pascal Show. I talk about everything from pop culture to controversy to political news, everything. You name it, right here on this show. And today we got to talk about this particular subject and this particular story in this case. So please hit that subscribe button. It'd be great to have you a part of the Pascal Show family. Check out my Patreon. Check out my locals page as well. And, of course, check out my merch page, pascalmerch.com. We got some really great stuff that has dropped over the past couple days and more coming very, very soon. But anyway, guys, this is a very interesting, tragic. It's not really interesting. It's interesting because of the information has come out revolving around this case. But this is a very tragic story of a young 12-year-old boy that is no longer here because God knows why. We're still trying to figure out. People are still trying to figure out, or law enforcement is still trying to figure out what happened to this little boy. And the little boy's name is Sean Doherty. Okay, or Dougherty. I think it's Dougherty, but I could be wrong. This 12-year-old boy was found by his sister in his backyard, suspended on his, I guess it's the jungle gym. And the details surrounding what happened to him, to me, screams foul play. But law enforcement has looked at this and said, no, this is just a case of someone unaliving themselves. Now, this is a very, very sensitive subject. We have got to talk about this, right? We have got to talk about this particular story, this particular situation, and this does revolve around a very serious subject, which we've been talking about for this entire month. We only have a few more days left in this month, but it is Suicide Awareness Month, and this is a very serious topic. But for for law enforcement to say that this young boy did this to himself, still, I'd like to challenge those theories, because there's certain information here that just doesn't make sense. The math ain't mathin', which we are going to get into in just a minute. But again, this 12-year-old boy was found in his backyard, in his family's backyard, in a way that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't speak to me in a it doesn't speak to me in a person doing something to themselves. It speaks to me like something happened, something sinister, something unthinkable happened to this young boy. And the fact that law enforcement seems to be turning their head, averting their eyes from the possible truths, is still very shocking to me. Again, like I said, we are going to be getting into some of the details surrounding this story. It doesn't make any sense. So grab your coffee. I think it's International Coffee Day or something like that, National Coffee Day or whatever. So, hey, grab your cup of Joe if it's the morning or morning-ish for you right now. Sit back and let's get into some internet sleuthing, shall we? So it says, what happened to Sean? And that's the hashtag that's been going around quite a bit. What happened to Sean? Okay. A York County boy's demise leaves his family with questions. And this would leave me with a bunch of questions, y'all. A gang of questions. All right. So on April 14th, a 12-year-old boy was found suspended from a swing set in his backyard. Basically, they say that his feet were dragging on the ground. This is the information that we're hearing as well, that his feet were basically touching the ground. Okay, but his demise was ruled as a self-unaliving. So, but recently, after being frustrated by what they say are unanswered questions, the family launched a social media campaign and wants the case reopened. So this whole thing's been, they said, case closed. It's just a case of a kid doing something to themselves. And the family's going, no, hell no. I don't agree with this. I don't believe this. We need to look into this situation. So they're wanting this case to be reopened. According to Ramona and Jared Rivas, Sean's mother and stepfather, Sean was a bright, happy boy who the night before his demise was laughing and joking with his family. The family's campaign prompted the York, I don't know how to say that area's, I don't know how to say that, but the sheriff's office of York County, it prompted that sheriff of that county to respond last week, saying that the demise was fully investigated. We take these matters very seriously, evaluate all evidence, and consider all possibilities. This is what Major Ron Montgomery said in a videotaped statement posted on the office's Facebook page. Much of the information being posted on this social media site is opinion, innuendo, and fabrication, which is not consistent with the evidence that was collected by the sheriff's office investigators during their investigation. Sean's family, however, wants another agency to investigate. They still have too many questions, they say. I would too. There's so many things that have come up which is strange. Even they're saying that there was other evidence that they found later after 5-0 went through, went through the entire house, went through the crime, the scene of where their son had passed on, all that stuff. They said that there were still pieces of information or pieces of evidence that still were not, I guess, documented, which is strange as well. That April afternoon, Sean's sister Maria found him suspended from a swing set. He was later pronounced unalive at Riverside Regional Medical Center in Newport News. When the sheriff's office ruled the death a self-demise, I guess I'll use that too, the Rivases were confused. He loved Marvel. He loved Marvel. He loved Disney. He loved his family. But most importantly, he loved life, Jared Rivas said. One of Sean's favorite things to do was to read. In fact, at a book fair a few years back, he spent $107 of his own money on new books. So he was a ferocious reader. Sean, a sixth grader at Tab Middle School who dreamed of one day becoming president, was one of four siblings, including an older sister and two younger brothers. According to his family, he was the kindest of them all, sometimes bringing extra food for a friend at school. Now that's sweet. Now, of course, there's also speculation or stories of him being bullied at school, but we don't know. We don't know that. We will be diving in a little bit more into that as well. But it is strange, and that is a viable question. Was he bullied at school? Was he or was he one of the popular ones? And to answer some of these other questions, was there any signs, or did he have any bouts with depression? That could answer some of those things as well, as far as someone wanted to do something so unthinkable to themselves, right? And 12 years old, he's 12, kids as young as 12 are doing said things like that to themselves as well. But when we get into the details of how he was found, you guys are all going to sit there and go, what in the hell? This does not say he did this to himself. Okay, but we'll get to it. So here it is. The autopsy report from the state office of the chief medical examiner states that Sean was found, and here it is, partially suspended by a shoelace type string that was tied to the swing set. While being suspended, there was reportedly a nylon bag over his head. I also heard that it was a motorcycle bag, like a motorcycle helmet bag over his head, and a belt strapped around his abdomen, pinning. This is the part that messes me up every single time. All right. And I'm blowing it up so y'all can see this even clearer. Okay. Let me just say this this last part, and I'm going to repeat this piece again. All right. So belt strapped around his abdomen, pinning both of his arms to his sides. You tell me if this is something that someone could successfully do to thyself. Again, partially suspended by a shoelace type string that was tied to the swing set. While he was suspended, there was reportedly a nylon bag over his head and a belt strapped around his stomach that was pinning both his arms to his side. Let me just say that. Let me ask you guys this question. Does that make any sense to you? Does that sound like somebody who can successfully do that to themselves? I mean, I get the golly, we going in here we're gonna go in here, and I'm sorry, graphic, all that kind of stuff. This is probably gonna be demonetized and all that stuff, which is tragic, but because of what I'm about to say, I get being able to put a bag over your head before you do said act. I hate to go into this graphic details, guys. I'm sorry, but we have to get into it, okay? A bag over your head. I get that. But then you wrap a belt around your stomach, pinning your hands down. How? First off, regardless, let's not even get to the part that took this young boy's life. Pinning your own hands down with a belt. Can you do that? Can anyone do that successfully? Pinning it down, not just loosely putting it around and then sliding your hands in there. Pinning it down. Can you do that? I'll answer it for you. Hell no. You can't do that. There's no way you can do that, y'all. No way. You need the help of somebody else. Then on top of it, let's add everything else. The act of being suspended. Okay? Being suspended. I'm sorry for going into this. Like I said, this is probably not going to get, which sucks. Okay? But at the same time, getting up there, doing said thing, but your hands are already pinned down by a belt. Or while you are being in the air, let's just say that, you pin your hands by tightening a belt around your belly. Is that possible? Like I said, no, I don't think so. Okay. So, partially suspended shoelace type string was around him while he was up in the air. A bag was over his head, and a belt was around his midsection, pinning down both of his arms, both of them, not just one, both of them. Okay. It's also noted that he was wearing his stepfather's clothes and was barefoot, and his glasses were on the ground nearby. No note was found. Now, the thing is, I heard that his glasses were found nearby somewhere else, and they were broken. Again, this math ain't mathin' for me. I didn't even see the comments, and Michael Walker you thinking the same thing. The math ain't mathin', man. Okay? Yes, Tyler, Mims. Makes no sense. And you're telling me right now, 5-0 is out here saying that this was a simple open and shut case of someone taking their own livelihood? I'm sorry. No. I see foul play like a mug. Yep. Okay? This is foul play. So why is 5-0 looking at this and saying, "Meh, it looks like he just did this thing himself, and let's move on to the next case"? That doesn't make sense to me, y'all. Make it make sense. Please. There's plenty of theories out here. I got a couple myself. We're going to get into it. In the parents' bedroom, Sean's underwear was on the floor, and a bunch of dressers were open. Before his passing, he was babysitting his 2-year-old brother at the house while Ramona Rivas took her mother to a doctor's appointment. He was so excited about watching his little brother because apparently this was like an upgrade in responsibility for him. You know, he was getting older, and he was going to have the responsibility of watching his little 2-year-old brother, and he was excited about having that extra responsibility. Okay? So, and this is what the mother said, Ramona. Jared Rivas, meanwhile, was in Williamsburg with their second youngest son for an appointment. During his last moments, Sean's last moments, he completed his homework, started taking out the trash, made a snack, and he even had a quick phone call with his mother about an hour before his body was discovered. Now, you tell me, if you were about to do the unthinkable, would you complete your homework? Would you take out the trash? Would you do all these things and then suddenly do your thing? Now, I will say this. This is just it's frustrating. Okay, this story, and it's frustrating because we got to talk about this in these ways, because I'm not going to sit here and say that the act of doing something like taking one's self is not possible. I'm not saying that's not. It most definitely is. There are plenty of people that have sporadic, random moments of deep depression, dips in their emotions, that will sit there and do something unthinkable like this. Just sporadic, off the cuff, just random. It does happen. It does. Okay. But if you think, or if you are in a state, I would assume if your mind is already in a state of deep depression, you're already thinking of doing, God forbid, this thing. Would you finish a whole bunch of your stuff? A bunch of like some of your chores, the homework that's due for school the next day? To me, that doesn't work. It just doesn't make sense on that part. Okay. Dear Dana said, I'm a therapist. This kid does not fit the profile of doing what he's alleged to have done, with details I am hearing. Yeah. With these details, it doesn't make sense. Now, there is speculation of maybe he was being bullied in school, so on and so forth. But that doesn't automatically mean that if this went down, would he have his hands pinned to his sides with a belt? Could he successfully do said thing alone? With all the details that they say surrounding this case, I'm telling you, no. So I agree with Dana. All the roads, all the signs, all the information that we've gotten so far sounds like he was a really happy kid that loved, like as they said, loved life, loved to read, was a good-hearted, good-natured kid, cared for others. And then this happens. The other question is, that's one thing I haven't looked into yet. Ramona remarried to John. Let me make sure I got his name right. Jared, I'm sorry. Remarried to Jared Rivas. Okay. So you got Jared Rivas, Ramona. But what happened with the dad? Where's the biological father? Where's husband number one? That's one thing I haven't looked into. And of course, you know, when it comes to investigation, you're always looking into the immediate family. And that's one piece I would like to know too. Okay? This seems a little strange. And yes, when it comes to pinning your hands down, yes, Amanda, it's impossible. Okay? But yeah, it's Keep It Real just said it too. You know, where's the biological father? Exactly. What's up with that? Okay. Again, we're going to go back into this. Okay. But he did a whole bunch of stuff. He had homework. He did his homework. He was taking out the trash. He made a snack. He even made a quick phone call with his mother. basically saying like everything was cool, I guess. She, of course, was probably checking on him to make sure that, everything was going okay with watching his 2-year-old brother. All right. But this all happened an hour before he was discovered. And again, he was wearing his stepfather's clothes. He was barefoot. He did not have his glasses that were on the ground nearby. His underwear was in his parents' bedroom on the floor, and a bunch of drawers were open in the bedroom of the parents' bedroom. So, in the medical examiner's report, it is noted that no known history of depression, or you see that word, was found, or the desire to unalive oneself was not. They say no history. There's no known history of depression or desire to unalive oneself was found. It does note that the police investigation raised the possibility of bullying in school, which is obviously a very obvious thing to lean towards. But his family said that except for one incident in December, they were unaware of any other bullying, and said Sean didn't seem to be very overly upset over it. So like he was moving on. He was doing fine. It sounds like he was resilient enough to keep it moving. His family questions how the examiner and police were drawn to the conclusion of unaliving oneself, especially with Sean's behavior the night before. The night before he passed, Ramona bought some cookies, and a couple of them were carrot cake. He was so excited about that cookie. He was like, "Mom, this is great. Mwah. It's so good." I guess he was doing that comical chef kiss in response to the cookie, eliciting laughter from the rest of the family. Soon after, Sean had his normal catch-up session with his mom before bed. Every night, no matter what, he would come up and follow Ramona around. He would just follow her around and talk to her about whatever they talked about. Jared Rivas said, and that was the same thing Wednesday night before he passed. Every time the catch-up sessions got finished, he'd turn and look at us. He'd go, "Well, good night, guys. I love you," and bounce down the hall. Sounds like he's a very happy dude. This sounds like a very happy kid. Sounds like a kid. Straight up. Just a goofy, cute, loving kid, right? This does not give off a vibe of someone that's wanting to do something unthinkable the very next day, the next afternoon. Doesn't make any sense. He's bounding down he's bouncing down the hallway, happy as hell. Doesn't make any sense. And there's even more to this. There's more, of course. The family was expecting to move soon. Ramona Rivas is a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Air Force, and she recently had been accepted a new position at the Pentagon. That's kind of dope. All right. Once she got the call, she told her family the news at dinner. Sean jumped up screaming with excitement and said he couldn't wait to tell his friends that his mother worked for the Pentagon. He wanted to know if he could go into the Pentagon and get some of the milk chocolate candies with the iconic buildings stamped on top. Sounds like a exciting. Remember, this is the same kid who had aspirations and dreams of becoming the next president of the United States. All right. On the first day, he went into the Pentagon. On the first day, when I went into the Pentagon, I went into the chocolate shop and bought one. It's next to Sean's picture, she said. That's sweet. In August, the Rivas family didn't want to stay silent anymore. They said, and the social media campaign ignited. So signs with hashtag or at what happened to Sean started. I'm assuming it's hashtag what happened, not at. but hashtag what happened to Sean started appearing across town, and a Facebook page titled What Happened to Sean was formed. The family also started a petition on change.org, which I'm going to show you guys here in a second, called What Happened to Sean, in hopes of someone reopening Sean's case. We don't want this to be a fight with the York County Sheriff. All we're asking is for another option, Jared Rivas said. I mean, you hear how we're describing him the night before he passed. We all just got back from a cruise, and he got his passport done on Tuesday, April 12th, which he was thrilled about. He didn't know he was going to be alone until he got home from school. He couldn't have planned this. Yes. So, and again, I get the idea of random acts, right? Just randomly, you have a bout of being unhappy. You there's a dip in your energy, etc. I can see something like that actually happening. But and somebody doing said thing like that, right? That just has a low dip. But then you see what happened to this child. You tell me if the math is mathing to you. To me, it's not working. And the fact that 5-0 is still to this day saying that this was a case, a straight up case of someone just unaliving oneself, it's still not working for me at all. And the fact that they just came back from a cruise, they were planning on doing some more traveling. He was excited about all these different things. He was excited about the new job that his mother had just gotten. He was excited about all these things, all this positive stuff that was revolving around, that was circulating around him. Why would he suddenly just do something like this? And again, you can't do what he did or how they found him. You can't do that alone. There is no way you can do that by yourself. No way. I will stand by that until I'm proven wrong. Real talk. All right. Beyond the statement released on Facebook, no more details about the case will be released to the public, and said Sheriff's Office spokeswoman. So we just wanted to get out our information and put their minds at ease. Ward said, the spokeswoman. There's not someone in our community that's out unaliving people, and we're not investigating it. We take all matters seriously. I don't know about you, but it seems a little strange. It does feel like somebody out here doing something, and they did this to this 12-year-old boy. That's how the math is mathing for me. All right. Medical examiner's office also made a statement saying that in cases where a family disagrees with the COD, the cause of demise, they are given an opportunity to present any new information. In cases where the family suspects that someone unalived their loved one, we ask families to contact the investigating law enforcement agency immediately to express their concerns. The statement continues. We advise that law enforcement should be involved as they need to conduct the necessary follow-up on the new information. If law enforcement determines the information to be pertinent to our investigation, then they will present it to our office, and the medical examiner will evaluate this new information to determine if the cause of death or manner of demise needs to be amended. According to the Rivases, there were many things out of place that day, the day of his passing. All they want is someone to give their case another look. We're not investigators. We're just parents that lost an amazing kid, the stepfather said. No matter what, no one can argue that he doesn't deserve a second shot. And I absolutely, totally, 110,000% agree, because this does not make any sense. You have a young boy right here. Sean seems to be very happy. Very, very happy. And now he's no longer here. And 5-0 just goes ahead and says, no. It's just the whole breakdown is this. We did our due diligence. We did what we had to do. And it looks like it's a straight up and down unaliving of oneself. I don't agree with it at all. I got a couple things real quick I wanted to grab before they completely disappear. All right. One, Kimberly, thank you so much. Kimberly in Japan, thank you so much for the 200 yen. Thank you so much for that, for the super sticker. Thank you so very, very much. And good morning and good evening to you. I think it's evening time over there. So I appreciate the support. Thank you so much, all the way from Japan. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And for those, I do appreciate. You guys were talking about this a couple of shows before, saying, "Hey, you should look up this Sean uh, uh, Daugherty um, story." Um, and yeah, I appreciate you guys giving me the heads up about this, because this one's sad, and the fact that it's not really out there like that is just very strange to me. Tasty Tea, thank you so much for becoming a member. Welcome to the family. Thank you so very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, and real quick before we dive even more and go into more details here into this conversation. I just wanted to say, my thoughts and prayers go out to everybody in Florida right now. I know that the storm has let up, but or the hurricane has now turned into a tropical storm, but it did leave some terrible, like it left places demolished. So I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm thinking of you, and I'm praying for you guys out there in Florida. Keep staying strong out there, because I know that you guys are, but keep holding it down. And hopefully you guys have found refuge, safety, and all that, because I know there's a lot of people that are still stuck in their homes right now, not knowing how or where to find salvation. But Kimberly in Japan, thank you so much again for the 200 yen. I appreciate it. The police are not doing their job. Unbelievable. I agree. And it's funny because in this whole, when the cops are talking, when they have like responded about this, it feels like they're just defending themselves, and they're just it's a lot of finger pointing instead of actually going, okay, well, let's look into it. To me, this doesn't make sense. All this, because at first, everything could lead up to a act of unaliving oneself, right? Clearly. But that one piece of information, like I say, it's the devil in the details. You got a belt strapped around the belly, strapped around the midsection, pinning both hands down. Both arms are down. How can you successfully do that alone? Everything else you could do alone, but that part you cannot. Once you see that, that screams foul play. Screams foul play, guys. And that is not working for me, okay? It is not. But of course, police are going to do everything they can to come off in such a manner. And I don't think that they really did their due diligence. I really, really don't think so. And what's nuts to me also is that this is a case that happened in April, and this is still something that people are still trying to figure out. That they still haven't gotten the help, at least a step towards more justice for this young boy, but they really haven't had anything yet, which is strange to me as well. Now, this is some pieces, like this is from the Facebook page, of course. This is not going to be so it says here, from a post, what happened to Sean. They awoke the next morning. I mean, this is from obviously, like I guess a thread. All right, but they woke the next morning hoping it was all a nightmare, but he was still gone. Jared called the investigators that asked them to come over and discuss what they found the night before. This is after 5-0 had already come in, surveyed the area, looked at the stuff, gathered things for evidence, so on and so forth, and they kicked rocks. Okay, they left. But apparently, family found other things. Apparently. So, before the investigators arrived, Jamie, AJ's mother, um, arrived with some food. On her way, she called the high school guidance counselor to let her know that Sean had passed away the night before and that Maria and AJ would not be in school that day. She also said that Maria and AJ would need several days off and quite possibly some extra help when they returned. The guidance counselor was really upset and said she would take care of everything. Jamie came in and started cleaning up the kitchen for Ramona. While sweeping around the kitchen table, she noticed a very large handprint on the window of the back door. She stopped and stared at it for a moment. Huh, she thought. That's very large and in a weird spot. Why would an adult place their hand on the window pane so high? For what? She put her hand up next to the print and saw it was much larger than her own hand. She called Ramona over to take a look. Ramona agreed that this was an adult print and it didn't belong to anyone in the house. It wasn't just a print. It seemed like there was something on the hand, a residue or film of some sort that really made the print stand out. Ramona said she would show the investigators when they arrived. At that point, Ramona showed Jamie the garbage bags with the bluish handles, and they both went through all the boxes of trash bags in the house. They were all red handles. Ramona exclusively shopped for garbage bags at Costco and bought hundreds at a time. Where did these bags come from? The investigative team arrived to the house. Some went upstairs and then to the backyard to look around and sat at the dining table and interviewed both Maria and Ramona, one after the other. There was one female investigator and one male at the dining table. They asked if Sean had any enemies, if he had been bullied, and if he had a bad day at school. They showed Ramona a video of Sean walking the hall with a buddy in at the middle school, and nothing seemed out of the norm. He was bouncing around and joking with his friend. This video helped them identify the jacket, flannel, and shorts he was wearing that very day. The selfie he took when he submitted his homework unidentified, or sorry, the selfie he took when he submitted his homework identified the shirt that he was wearing, but they weren't given that picture from the school until about 3 weeks later. The jacket and flannel were found hanging together in the house, but they could not locate the shirt and shorts. They stayed for about an hour, questioning both Ramona and Maria about Sean and his state of mind on his last day. Maria and Ramona dutifully answered every question they could, hoping that any information they provided would help them figure out what happened to Sean. They had taken Sean's iPhone, laptop, and iPad the night before. They asked if the family knew the passcode to get into the iPhone, but they didn't. They tried a few things, but couldn't figure it out. The investigators said that they would take care of it. Ramona asked if they were going to talk to Sean's friends. They said they would. She gave them contact information for his close friends. Jamie was washing dishes in the sink and eavesdropping. She couldn't help but think that they were not taking the family's concerns seriously, as each response from the investigators seemed to poo-poo the family. That's what, according to this, and circle back to the unaliving of oneself. She was confused as to why they weren't acknowledging the family's concerns. Ramona asked them to take the underwear she found and had bagged the night before. They reluctantly took them, but did not provide a receipt. She also pointed out the handprint on the back door and asked them to lift the prints to see if they could find a match. There hadn't been any fingerprints taken the night before, and she didn't understand why they didn't take any or how they could have missed it. They lifted the fingerprints and said they would send them out for testing. The two investigators that had been at the table joined the colleagues outside. They congregated underneath the swing set for a few minutes and had a discussion. They walked back to the house, gave their condolences, and headed out. The family was left without any direction, guidance, or any answers whatsoever. Was there even an investigation? Why were they leaving? So Ramona and Jamie went into the backyard and looked around. They both found themselves looking up at all of the houses with second floors that could peer directly into their backyard and see everything. They counted six houses in a direct line of sight into the yard at all times from the second floor. Who was watching? Ramona called the FBI. A few weeks later, the lead investigator would tell them they did get a good print from the lift of the hand, but that there weren't any matches in the system. A month later, when they came back for more prints, he said there weren't any good prints lifted. What? So a few weeks later, lead attorney. What's up, lead attorney? Anyway, few weeks later, lead investigator tells them that they did get a good print from the lift, from the lift of the hand. Then a month later, they came back for more prints, and he said there weren't any good prints lifted, and therefore nothing viable to test. What? That doesn't make any sense. The family does not know if the initial handprint was ever sent out for testing, and they haven't been given any documentation to support that it was. Sean's underwear were also never sent out for testing, and they don't know what happened to those either. And apparently, I don't know if this is the actual print itself, but the math ain't math in here, y'all. It feels like somebody's covering something up. Now, here's the thing. Again, and this is just one post. One post of, apparently there's like 9 posts of, this is post number 9. So there's plenty other posts revolving around this particular story, which we're going to look at a few more here too. We're going to go back. We're going to go back to towards number 1. And I'm really glad the family got together and put this together, because it doesn't make any sense. Hold on. Maybe this is the first post. Yeah, this must be post number 1. Post number 2. All right, let's take a look at this one. And again, this stuff doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make any sense. So we already know about post number 1, because post number 1 basically explains what happened here, the passing of Sean Doherty, I think is. Hopefully I'm saying his last name right. I hate when I mess up the last names, but strange, right? Of course, it says here, never in our wildest dreams, specifically in 2022, did we think that an investigation could be so biased and assumptions based. We have been dismissed repeatedly. That's ridiculous. This is a family trying to find out what happened to their son. They will tell you we are crazy, unable to let go. They will tell you it was the unaliving of oneself, Sean Kingston. And it's a cut and dry case, like I've said a million times on the show so far. They will say that the unaliving of oneself never makes sense. All we ask is that you pull up a chair, hear us out, and come to your own conclusion. We think you'll agree that there are way too many things that don't add up. And then, of course, they're saying, help us find out what really happened to our son, Sean. If there's any information that would aid in the investigation, please email whathappennedtoshawn@gmail.com or call our tip line 804-905-8613. Again, I'll say that number one more time. 804-905-8613. Okay? Because this is heartbreaking. But we're gonna go through these pieces. So this is post number 2. Okay? Post numero 2. Okay? Family dynamics. Okay? April 14th, 2022. It was a normal day in the Doherty Rivas household. Sean was the second oldest child in a blended household that consisted of his mother, Ramona, his stepfather, Jared, his older sister, Maria, who was 16 and in 10th grade, and his 2 younger half brothers, who are 5 and 10, 5 and 2. Wow, my brain. 5 and 2 at the time. Their 79-year-old grandmother, Viha, I guess, also lives with them. So this is a very blended home, okay? Ramona and Jared are both lieutenant colonels with the Air Force. Ramona and Viha were born in Latvia. Hence, and we will be hearing some of the interview of the family. You can hear Ramona has a very thick accent for sure. This proud military family moved on Sandalwood Lane in Yorktown and were a tight-knit group who kept to themselves. They've been there for a few years and were great neighbors, but hadn't made any forever friends on the block. The vid made socializing difficult, but the kids had friends and the family would occasionally wave and make small talk with the neighbors. So, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Truth be told, they felt so safe in their house that even the doors were seldom locked. I think that's important information right there too. The doors were seldom locked because of the area that they were in. It was a very nice, safe area. They had just sold the house and were renting back for a few months for the new owners while prepping for a move to the Pentagon. They were all sad to end their time in the Tab District, but they were excited for the next chapter in D.C. They were set to move in a few weeks. On this particular morning, the entire week, in fact, spirits were high in the house. The week before was spring break. They had gone on a Disney cruise. Everyone had the best time, and they were all high on their experience. They had such an awesome time that on Tuesday, the 12th of April, Ramona took Sean to renew his passport at the library because they booked a second Disney trip for August to Alaska. Sounds like they had a blast. Okay, a blast. Everyone, particularly Sean, was stoked for this trip. He was a straight A student. Things came naturally for him, and he was also a gifted musician. He had several friends, and when interviewed after his demise, they recalled him being happy. This day in particular, teachers and students interviewed teachers and students that were interviewed remembered Sean laughing in class, being excited, and could not recall anything out of the norm. Again, no history of doing said things that they're saying here. Ramona spoke to them all personally, and each echoed the same sentiment that Sean was not a troubled child and had exuded happiness that day. So strange, y'all. And I have this video too. We're going to be looking at that video shortly. Trust and believe. Post number 3. On the 14th of April, the day that he passed on, he gets off a bus at 3:02 and walked to the distance of 2 houses to his front door. Viha, the grandmother, was home watching the youngest brother, but was in a rush. As soon as Sean entered the house, she told him to watch the toddler who was asleep on the couch, and she exited. Ramona had pulled up to the house to pick up Viha, the grandmother, for a medical appointment, and called out to Sean as he entered the house. She said she would call him from the car. He was to watch the brother for an hour while she took her to the doctor. He happily agreed. He loved watching the toddler. He said he had homework to do and would complete his chores before gaming with his friends. He submitted his homework assignments online, one of which included him submitting a photo of himself holding up his work at 3:09 p.m. There was nothing out of place. From the car, Ramona called him for the second time. She had just talked to her husband, who said their 2-year-old had been napping for almost 2 hours and needed to be woken up, or he'd never sleep that night. Ramona called Sean to revise the plan and asked him to wake his brother up, give him a snack, and maybe watch a movie with him downstairs. Sean laughed and said, "Mom, I'm pooping. I got it." And they had chuckled. His bathroom was on the second floor. She called a third and final time from her car at 3:27 p.m. Sean answered right away. She said that she realized he had been excited to play his games and suggested that Sean bring his brother with him up to the second floor so that he wouldn't have to change his plans. Sean loved the idea and said that he would get his brother all set up on an iPad upstairs with him. Perfect. She told him where the iPad was charging on the second floor so he can grab it and get everything set up. But first, before he woke his brother up, he needed a snack. He took some jarred peaches, out of the fridge, one of his favorite after-school snacks, and put them into a bowl. Sean's chores were to take the trash out, and we believe at 3:30 p.m. his alarm went off as he was preparing his snack. He went upstairs quickly to complete his chore. He gathered the trash from the 2 upstairs bathrooms and came downstairs to gather the trash in the kitchen. This is where things get weird. The kitchen trash was never taken out. His Crocs were found next to the trash in the kitchen. No one in this house was ever barefoot. And in fact, Sean had a strange thing about being barefoot. He never walked around like that. He couldn't stand it. What happened as he was gathering the trash? Sean's 2-year-old brother recalls only that there was a quote-unquote friend chasing Sean around and punching him. Again, this is eyewitness. This is an account from the 2-year-old brother, so that he was babysitting. Sean's 2-year-old brother recalls that there was a friend chasing Sean around and punching him. He also said, quote unquote, the man touched his arm. Was somebody in the house? Who? Ramona's last call before she entered the appointment was the last time she or anyone spoke to Sean. He never logged in to play Fortnite with his friends. He never took the iPad off the charger for his brother. His Crocs were found upside down next to the trash. and the trash was never taken out. On the counter sat an untouched jarred peach. And there's the peach. So you guys tell me, I mean, what is going on here that would make 5-0 not say, like, not tell us what's actually going on here, or like not dive in even more? Why would they just go, well, that's it. It's a wrap, guys. We already know the answer to all this. It's a wrap. Done, done, done. That doesn't make sense, y'all. Again, math is not mathing for me on this. Not at all. Not at all. Okay? All right. Where is Sean? Maria. Oh, let me pull this back up so you guys can see this. Maria, Sean's older sister, had been at a tennis match after school. She was rushing home because her boyfriend, AJ, and his mother were picking her up to go to his lacrosse game. When she got home, the front door is locked. Again, remember, the doors in their home were seldom locked because of how safe their homes, the neighborhood was, or so they thought. It's very unfortunate. Okay? But the door was locked. She rang the bell and knocked, and no one answered. Where was Sean? He was supposed to be home. She called her mother, Ramona, who told her to call Sean and advised that he's probably playing games upstairs, or that he's probably gaming upstairs. Maria was frustrated. She was in a rush. She called Sean twice and texted him 3 times at 4:50 p.m., but there was no response. She decided to run around the back to try to enter through the back door, and that's when she saw him. She froze at the moment, entering a state of shock as she tried to process what she was seeing. A person was suspended from their swing set unnaturally with a bag over their head. She looked around trying to figure out if she could get into the house before this stranger got to her. But she realized the figure was not moving, nor was it facing her. Utterly confused, she scanned the yard to make sure she wasn't alone and locked eyes with a landscaper mowing the neighbor's yard, who was also very puzzled and just standing there. What? So you got a landscaper next door chilling, weed whacking, or whatever he's doing, staring over to their yard, looking dumbfounded, chilling. You see somebody suspended from the swing set, and you don't do anything at all either? What? There's more. There's more. So he's looking puzzled. This landscaper's mowing, looking confused, apparently, puzzled and just standing there. Suddenly, confident since she wasn't alone, she came within a 15-foot radius and called out, "Hello?" And there was no response. Thoughts chaotically ran through her mind as she tried to process what she was seeing. The hands and legs looked so familiar. It was Sean. Hysterically, she ran up to her brother and confirmed it was him by looking closely at his hands, which were both bound to his waist by a belt and discolored from lack of circulation. Okay, I'm sorry I keep pausing and all that, but let me just say this really quick, okay? Again, you have the sister running over, and this is what she sees. A belt wrapped around his waist. His hands are pinned in the belt, and the belts was so tight that his hands were discolored from lack of circulation. Come on, guys. And you're telling me that 5-0 is going, well, case closed. I'm sorry. I'm not seeing that. I am not seeing that at all. Okay. I'm not seeing that at all. Okay. Discolored from lack of circulation. Screaming, she lifted her brother with one arm in hopes of releasing the pressure from his head. She called for 911 at 4:54 p.m. with her other hand. She removed him from his suspended position by simply lifting the shoelace type string over his head with 3 fingers, brought him down to the ground, and performed CPR for 6 minutes with the assistance of the 911 dispatcher until EMT took over. He was dressed in men's clothing. His arms were tightly bound to his waist that EMTs made note of how difficult it was to remove it. This thing was on tight. Again, the big dead giveaway is the fact that he had his hands bound down and that it was so tight, they had a difficult time removing it from his body. Okay? They had to unbuckle and remove it so that they could administer shocks with the AED. He had a bag over his head, and his glasses were broken, like I said earlier, broken and found in the vicinity, nowhere near him, but somewhere in the yard. Okay? His eyesight was so poor, he couldn't see without his glasses. How could this clumsy 12-year-old suspend himself in such an awkward position with a bag on his head whilst his hands were belted so tightly to his waist without being able to see? He was suspended by his chin, not his neck. At any point, he could have stood up and saved himself, but he didn't. His feet were dragging on the ground, and his knees bent were mere inches from the ground as well. In fact, normal suspended injuries weren't present. It looked like he had been unalived elsewhere and propped ornamentally outside, displayed in men's clothing and suspended like a doll. His knees were so close to the ground that you could see the bottom of his feet, and they were clean. How could he have perfectly clean feet if he had walked barefoot from the house to the swing set through their swampy spring yard? It was April, and the whole yard was mud and dust. The mother arrived home from the appointment and found her house swarming with emergency medical personnel, and she jumped out of her SUV and ran towards the commotion. She saw them working on Sean, and in the instant, the life she had lived ceased to exist. As Sean's body jumped through the air with each shock of the AED, she knew they were too late. Through heroic efforts from Maria, they were able to get a heartbeat, but there wasn't enough electricity to sustain it. They would find out later that Sean had actually been gone for some time, and there was no chance he could have been revived. A belt that completely immobilized his arms and hands, and a bag over his head, broken glasses suspended by the chin, clean feet dragging with knees almost touching the ground, a string so thin and loose it didn't even need to be cut, men's clothing, and Sean was gone. So tell me, guys, again, I'm going to keep saying this. Does this look Does this sound like somebody successfully doing something like this to themselves? Again, no. You got, and then yeah, on top of that, a shoestring. Let's not forget that too. A shoestring like rope or string that was around his neck. How can you successfully do something like this? Real talk. Come on. This little boy's life. Look at that happy little kid. This is foul play all over the place. What is 5-0 doing over there? That doesn't make sense. This is a young kid. Feet dragging on the ground, knees bent. So he could have just stood up, planted his feet on the ground. And then on top of that, you got feet that are clean feet. The rope wasn't even around his neck. It was more around his chin. Come on, y'all. This is just ridiculous. Mega Million, thank you so much for the 5. That baby knew what he was talking about. His glasses are broken because someone was punching him in the face. Yep. And then they said, that man. Okay? That man. The 2-year-old said that man was chasing. Why would a 2-year-old boy make this up? Oh, Sean was being chased by a man, and that man touched me. But he was chasing Sean and punching Sean in the face. Why would a 2-year-old make that stuff up? No kid would make that up. Hell no. And you're telling me no foul play? Still no foul play? Come on, y'all. 5-0 is wrong on this one. Okay? Pink Society, thank you so much for the 5. Thank you for covering this, P. I knew this story needed to get out there. Sean's mom needs answers, to be honest. Specifically, I guess. Specifically, the landscaper is a little sus. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That landscaper sus as hell. I would, you know what? Honestly, I would love to have the Rivas's on the show. If anybody has any contacts to them or whatnot, because I'd love to be able to this story should be out to hear more. I didn't even know about this until you guys told me about it. And it's funny, I'm seeing other channels starting to talk about it too now. But that's the thing. We didn't hear about, like myself and these other channels. I feel like we didn't know about this story until right now. You see what I'm saying? Over the past couple days. And I knew that there was so much to this story. I was like, I need at least another day to consume and get this, get this seeping into my eyeballs, into my brain matter, because there's just so much going on. But this is a story that happened in April, and it still hasn't been, the case hasn't been reopened. They're still trying to get information out here. They're still trying to get the truth out here. And this is crazy. Lisa Lapp, thank you so much for the 150. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate it. Okay. JM Brink, she said, Pascal, I haven't seen this covered anywhere else on YouTube. Props to you, and hope Sean's family is dialed in. I hope so too. Like I said, I'd love to have them on to hear them talk about this. But I hadn't heard about this at all until somebody, I forgot who it is that mentioned it. Now I would love to give you props and credit for making me know about this story. But this story doesn't, the math ain't mathing with this one. It's so weird. And it's another type of situation, like a Kendrick Johnson situation, where you don't know, clearly somebody knows something out there, but they're not willing to dive into the case and find out who actually is the person that took this person's life. Okay? And again, this one just doesn't make any bloody sense. And that's just post 4. We did see post 9, but still, this is some crazy stuff. So as she was driving home, as Ramona was driving home from the appointment, Maria called to, and this is what they say, red lights. Hold on. Interesting. She's driving home from the appointment. She called to say that Sean wasn't opening the door. She told him to call him. He's probably gaming with his brother. Oddly enough, all the traffic lights were green on the way home, except the last one. As she sat by the light, a fire engine and an emergency a pickup truck came blazing past, and she suddenly felt ill. She muffled under her breath, please don't turn right," but they did. She sped up and watched them take the next right into her neighborhood. She thought, please, God, don't let them be at my house. The sirens stopped, and she couldn't see the vehicles anymore. She turned left onto her lane and saw them all in the front of her house. Uh, she threw her car into park, told Via she was going in, the grandmother, and ran toward the backyard. They had an entrance on each side of the house, but the one that was on the right was never used. In fact, from the road, you couldn't tell if it was a gate because a bush was too close to it. Everyone was gathered near the gate on the right side of the house, but the gate on the left was wide open. Why? Ramona ran through the open gate on the left and saw everyone gathered under the swing set. She tried to focus and figure out what was happening. Suddenly, she saw this long body with naked legs laying on the ground and EMTs working around him. An officer rushed toward her and told her to move away and let the medics do their job. She heard the AED and saw his body rise from the ground and slam back down. Her knees hit the ground, and from the depths of the place she never knew existed, she screamed no. His body continued to go up and down. A million thoughts went through her head. What was Sean doing outside? Did he fall? Was there an accident? As these thoughts were racing through her mind, she heard someone yell, "Heartbeat." The police again insisted she step back further so they could do their jobs. It then occurred to her that her toddler wasn't out there. Realizing that he wasn't outside, she turned to just see Maria running towards her. They both ran into the house with the officer right behind them. As Ramona turned the doorknob, it opened immediately. Opened immediately. The door was unlocked. She ran and saw Crocs upside down next to the two closed garbage bags on the floor that were ready to be taken out. She scanned the living room for her toddler and noticed two little legs beneath a pile of laundry on the chair. She yelled his name, scooped him up, and opened his eyes. He opened his eyes and started to cry. He was really limp. He was and just out of it. He just didn't seem like his normal self. Ramon ran to the front door, and it was locked, as Maria had stated. They opened the door and ran outside the front yard, ran outside to the front yard. She noticed a neighbor standing nearby with a landscaper. She ran up and yelled out, "What happened? Did you see what happened?" The neighbor said no. She turned towards the landscaper, who mumbled, I don't know him who did it. I don't know him who did it. I don't know him who did it. Okay. She ran over to the other neighbor on the other side, who was also mowing the grass. He too said he didn't see anything. How could all of her neighbors, be outside doing yard work, not see anything? The fence is only 3 feet tall. No matter who she asked, nobody saw anything and nobody knew anything. One neighbor even had several cameras fixed to his house. that pointed to her yard, but they were disconnected and hadn't been working in years. So Ramona's husband was in Williamsburg with her Sean's stepfather, by the way, was in Williamsburg with their middle child at ABA services. It was at least 35 to 40 minutes away. She needed help immediately. She called her boss. So she called her boss, told him that she thought Sean was dead. He said he'd be right over. She called her husband, Jared, and told and could only say that he was hurt really bad, that Sean was hurt really bad, that they were trying to revive him. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. He ran into the building, grabbed their son, and jumped in the car. Ramona watched as the ambulance with Sean pulled away. As they wouldn't let her ride with him, she hopped into the first responders' fire pickup truck, and they began backing out of the road. As they pulled out, Maria's boyfriend, AJ, and mom pulled up. AJ jumped out to console Maria, and Jamie jumped out as well. She ran up to the Ramona in the pickup and said, "What the F? Is he okay?" She shook her head no, and and asked Jamie to stay with Maria, Via, and the kids. Ramona asked the driver if he had an update on Sean since the rig was far ahead of them. He told her that to have hope since they were able to get a few beats on the ground. Still in uniform, she walked into the emergency room. They were expecting her. She was guided through a secured door down where Sean was being worked on. There were nurses and doctors 3 rows deep in the hall, all watching and praying. A woman in scrubs fell to her knees in prayer with tears pouring down her face. Oh. The crowd parted all at once and turned toward her to make way for the physician to come out. She stepped back, shook her head, and just screamed no as the physician informed her that Sean was gone. Now, what's interesting about this piece here is the part where she goes up and asks, where is it? Ask the landscaper. And it says, I don't know him who did it. I don't know him who did it. So why aren't they investigating or asking a bunch of questions to the landscaper? You got to remember, the daughter couldn't get through the front door. So she ran through the back. She ran to the back to see if she can get access to the back door. Sees her brother suspended, looks over, sees the landscaper who's mowing the lawn, but he's sitting there dumbfounded. And I understand if he didn't do anything, if he didn't have anything to do with this, but saw the act of whatever happened, and he's sitting there dumbfounded, I get being shocked. Absolutely. Something like that is something you don't want to see. You can't unsee that. Okay? I can see somebody being dumbfounded by that. But you got a landscaper who literally said, I don't know who did it. I don't know him who did it. I don't know him who did it. Him. Who is him? You got to remember that too. The son, the 2-year-old, said he saw Sean being chased around the house by a man. And that man was punching this young boy. Then you got landscaper dude sitting here saying, I don't know him who did it. And you're still telling me 5-0's looking at this and saying, oh, yeah, is it, me? What? Come on, y'all. Like, I don't get it. 5-0 sitting there going, oh, we did our due diligence. It's done. And, wrap it up. It's a wrap, son. It's done. I don't agree with this, y'all. I don't agree with this at all. I really don't agree with this at all. That's just insane. We got a few more. There's more, but that's and yeah. And JM Brink, you're right. You know, too dumbfounded to call 911. Exactly that too. Like, yeah. I mean, yes. Somebody should have called somebody. If that landscaper saw something, he should have called 911 or done something. And this dude, I don't know him who did it. So then who he? Can you describe who him is? Who him? This makes no sense. And you know, of course, we do have. We're gonna once we get through this. I got a little piece because, of course, you know they did 50 did make a statement that we are going to be looking at here very, very shortly. But you know, trying to debunk these things, and again, it's like another case of people trying to of 50 trying to save face. You know, it's ridiculous, and it's like they're trying to debunk this family who has a lot of questions. They have a lot of questions. Understandably, they have a lot of questions. Okay? Understandably. Understandably, they have a lot of questions. It just doesn't make sense to me. And it's just frustrating. It's very, very frustrating. But let's go into this a little bit more because there's more. Oops, sorry. All right. Let me make sure. So there's more to this. Okay. So under the blanket, post 6. Post 6. Oh, and thank you, Deborah Walters. I do appreciate the $1.50 on Cash App. I really do appreciate the Cash App. Thank you so very much. I just saw that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But okay, so Ramona said she wanted to see him, and they made their way to enter the room. He was laying on the gurney. She knelt beside him on the left side and grabbed his feet and kissed them. They were so clean and perfect. She knew this would be the last time she would see him. The sorrow and grief was indescribable, but Ramona's analytical mind was working overtime. What happened? She needed to look. She was alone in the room with some sort of female chaplain, and everything was covered up to his neck with a blanket. She went over to his face to take a look. His angelic, peaceful. He was angelic and peaceful, and his face was unharmed. There was no swelling anywhere. His feet were all intact, or his teeth, sorry, were all intact, and he had clearly been intubated as the tube was still in. He had a neck collar on, and his eyes were half open, clear, green, and not swollen. There was no redness or damage that she could see. She opened his eyelids and saw his pupils were blown. And in that moment, she realized that his soul had left his body. The pain was unbearable. She kissed his forehead, pushed his hair up, and just wanted to smell him one last time. He smelled musty. His right hand suddenly popped out from beneath the blanket. She leaned over to put it back. She went back to the left and grabbed the hand and held it one last time. She put his left hand into her own and noticed blood in between the fourth and fifth finger. She thought to herself, good, there's evidence. Something told her to get her phone out and take pictures. Later, she would notice that these pictures clearly show the marks on his wrist from being bound by the belt, even though the medical examiner reports that by the time she received the body, there were no marks. So they're saying that the medical examiner reports say that when she received the body or when she saw the body, there were no marks. That doesn't make any sense. So she stood up, she lifted up his arm to take a pic, and suddenly she froze. She stared at it, and the picture and she stared at it and the picture for a second longer, and then let out a scream. Something is wrong. My son is wearing my husband's dress shirt. OMG. Did someone put these clothes on? Is someone in the house? The female chaplain ran out to get help. The investigator was in the hall speaking to a physician. Ramona called Jamie's cell and told that Sean was dressed in Jared's clothing and that someone could still be in the house. Now Ramona's brain was racing. What was happening? Why was Sean wearing his dad's clothing? Suddenly, she saw a replay of Sean's body being hit by the AED and black underwear, and her stomach felt queasy. That wasn't Sean's underwear. That was Jared's. The investigator came into the room to ask what was going on. She explained. Once she explained, the investigator asked Ramona to leave the room since it was now considered a crime scene. Ramona didn't realize that from that point on, she would never be able to hold or touch him again. The entire family was robbed of saying their goodbyes, and the doors closed. All Ramona saw were flashes from the investigator's camera. She stood there with tears streaming down her face. Sean was taken away from her. Ramona was directed to an empty room, and soon after that, the door opened and Jared entered. You know what's crazy, but that's the thing. The medical examiner didn't even sit there and say like that there was any evidence of anything. Nothing happened until she actually was like, wait a second, he's wearing his stepfather's dress shirt. He's wearing his stepfather's underwear. This is not his stuff. This is weird. Foul play, foul play, foul play. So why would this family, like, this doesn't make any sense, y'all. It's still not working for me, y'all. This math is definitely not mathing at all. At all. And yet still, there are people out here that are thinking that, man, this ain't working for me, y'all. Oh, man. I'm sorry. I wait. Kimberly in Japan. You sent me a super chat. Did I miss it? Hold on. I'm sorry. I was busy reading these stories. I know I got one from I got one here. Hold on. Okay. No, I think I did. I think I covered. I mean, the ones from the past. But we will get into it. Yeah, I may have already said it, unless if you can just copy and paste it, I'll be sure to reread it again. But I read all yours, Kimberly in Japan. But Pink Society, thank you so much for the $2. Landscapers use trash bags. Yep, suspect. Yeah, it's sus. Yep, they do use trash bags. They most definitely do. Lisa Lapp, thank you so much for the $1.50 super sticker. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so very much. You know, first one, thank you so much for the comment. Thanks for giving this case life. Let's ensure that other sleuthers give this attention, the attention it deserves. I agree. This story should be out there more often, for sure. Most definitely. All right. Let's see. LM, yes. Thank you so much for the 50. Grizzly did a video about Sean 2 days ago. This broke my mama heart. Am a mom of 3 boys. Yes. And yes, that's what I mean. Like, I think I think I could have sworn like right before I started this live. Like I know that Grizzly talked about this, and when of course she did like a 2-hour stream on this. But then 10 to Life, like literally right when I was about to go live, she dropped her video about this as well. I was like, damn, now, but now everyone's talking about it, which is good. People are talking about it. You see what I'm saying? I've seen a lot of other smaller YouTube channels talk about this as well. Months ago, actually. So this is still, it's still kind of an underground story, that hasn't been out there or hasn't been put out there for people to see, which is very, very sad, but yeah, this is just absolutely crazy, and heartbreaking. And the fact that medical examiner didn't see anything, they didn't see any marks on him or anything of that sort, yet she's finding all these marks and little bits of information or little bits of evidence. It is very strange. And then, of course, the fact that she's, of course, reacting in such a way where she freaks out because, yeah, this would mess me up too, This would totally throw me off. If this was my child, and we're finding out all the other details, but the one piece of her not being like of how he left this planet, the act of which he left this planet, dead giveaway, tells me foul play. But then you have landscaper guy who was mowing the lawn, who was there when the sister walked out into the backyard. I mean, that tells me like something up. Something's most definitely up. You can't automatically sit here and say that you got that landscaper. You didn't bother to investigate, or at least keep him in your back pocket after investigating him and questioning him and all that. It seems strange. I don't know him who did it. What? I don't know him who did it. That makes no sense. Makes no bloody sense. None. Then on top of that, you have the other son, the 2-year-old son that's seeing all that stuff, is recanting his side of the story, saying that he saw a man chasing Sean around the house, hitting him. Make it make sense, y'all. So you're telling me that little boy is just going to make things up like that? And yet none of that is enough for people to sit there and go, okay. Not enough for 5-0 to sit there and go, wait, okay, something ain't right. And let me say this too. That's true too. Lachelle said, good point. I guess she's responding to somebody else, but he could just have broken English. That's true. But then it's like, okay, where's the translator? If that person's first language is not English, let's just be real, because there's plenty of English speaking landscapers out here in these streets. Okay. But if he didn't know him who did it, could they have brought in a translator to find out more information? It just LM, didn't you say that didn't you say 2-year-old said it was a friend who beat the brother? See, now that's the thing. They said he was chasing. That's the thing. We're hearing there's two different things we've heard, or I've heard. I've heard stories of the 2-year-old saying that it was not a man, but it was an actual friend of Sean's that was in the house, allegedly. But that friend could literally be a grown-ass man saying, hey, I'm a friend of your brother Sean. So then friend could mean a man. It could mean many different things. It could literally mean a friend from school, or somebody saying, oh, this is my friend. You know, maybe Sean brought a friend, like kid came over. Let's just say the possibilities are endless with friend. Friend can be used loosely, but at the same time, though, how this kid ended up, and then also they say the 2-year-old was calling this particular person that was allegedly chasing Sean around the house and hitting him. He called him a man. He said that man touched me. You would say, oh, Sean's friend hit me, touched me, or you know what I mean? I feel like man is a very very specific thing to say, because you wouldn't say that about a 12-year-old boy. Man is very specific, in my personal opinion. That too could be a friend of the family. Could be. That's what I mean by friend could mean anything, right? That could be loosely used in many different ways. It could be another 12-year-old kid from school. It could be a friend of the family who happens to be a man. It could be a man that walked in and terrified the heck out of Sean, but he was maybe playing very nice and kind to the 2-year-old, saying, I'm a friend of Sean's, or I'm a friend of the family. That could be it too. It's strange and creepy and scary all at the same damn time. Let's keep it reals. But the possibilities of this are endless, in my personal opinion. But I am going to be right back. I'll see you guys in 29 seconds. I wanted to create something that we could wear to start a very important conversation about mental health and remind those that are lost in the dark that we're here to guide them towards the light. Suicide has taken so many of our loved ones, and it needs to stop. My hope is by wearing these t-shirts and hoodies, we can stop these tragedies and start some conversations. Remember, you are not alone. Yes, guys, remember you are not alone. I do have, there's a few more days left in this month, and this month is Suicide Awareness Month. And we have been making custom handmade tie-dye t-shirts and hoodies that say this shirt saves lives, and of course this hoodie saves lives. And they are all different. Every single last person that's received their hoodies and t-shirts are completely different from the rest. All specifically made for you guys, made to order. So if you guys can please go over to pascalmerch.com, that would be greatly appreciated. And check out that specific line of clothing. But of course, we have other ones like the DV Awareness Month is coming this coming month, October. So we have teamed up with the Gabby Petito family and the Gabby Petito Foundation, and we have designed this together. And it is Break the Silence. We got t-shirts and hoodies specifically for this. Portions of the proceeds are going to the Gabby Petito Foundation as well. So please go check that out on pascalmerch.com. I got other things like other t-shirts, other hoodies, different types of things. We got some jogging suits and tops and bottoms and all that that are just really amazing and made by yours truly. So please go and check those things out. Because like I said, just making some really great stuff that I want to bring awareness to, of course, and of course, just make you guys feel good. So please go and check those things out, pascalmerch.com. All right. But we got to jump into this. We got a little bit more. And like I said, this is just such terrible stuff. And to me, this screams foul play. This is screaming foul play, in my personal opinion. Foul play. So I am hoping that it's just whole thing is so sad. This story. And the fact that 50 ain't doing nothing about it is just still mind blowing to me. But let's get into this a little bit more. So it says yellow tape. Of course, the ambulance pulled away, and of course, the daughter was left in shock. 2 officers were left in the house, a male and female. They were waiting for detectives to arrive to begin the investigation. AJ and his mother Jamie began to console Maria. They talked to the officers on the scene to help with the toddler. The distressed call from Ramona came in on Jamie's cell phone regarding the men's clothing and a potential intruder in the house. Jamie ran to tell the officers what Ramona had said, and they told her that they would take a look. They searched the house and did not find anyone inside. A few moments later, a detective arrived and asked to question Maria. Jamie sat beside Maria to supervise the questioning, and Maria began to detail what she saw. Almost immediately, it was clear the detective thought it was an unaliving of oneself. The detective asked if Sean had ever tried to harm himself. Maria said she didn't think so. He asked if she had ever seen any marks on his neck, and she told him he might have had a scratch from the week before, but she thought it was from the younger brother, who is autistic and often grabs necks. He asked if Sean had any problems at school, and she said that he had an issue with 3 girls at school who had been teasing him around Christmas, but it was months ago and the issue was resolved. He had friends and had been on a Disney cruise the week before and was high on happiness as a result. Sean had no indication of depression or other ideations. She could not recall anything out of the norm. She insisted several times that the position Sean was located in would indicate that he had been harmed. It was unnatural, and it didn't look like a position one could put themselves in. He was hung and, of course, dangling near the ground, so much that he could have stood up fully at any time. She described her account of events in as much detail as she could, as she stood in shock, or she was still in shock. She sat with AJ and sketched what she saw, but the investigators didn't take her sketch. I don't get that. So Jared arrived home to a swarm of marked and unmarked vehicles and people he didn't recognize. He parked and headed straight for Maria and hugged her and whispered in her ear, "I loved you." With tears in her eyes, she told him that he loved him too. He handed his son off to Jamie and Ramona's boss, and hugged his 2-year-old, who had also been home. He thanked God that their toddler was okay. He approached Via, the grandmother, and told her that Sean was gone. You could see the hope drain from her face as her arms fell to her sides and tears streamed down her cheeks. So, okay, one of the officers approached Jared and asked a few questions. Jared asked him what happened, and he said that he said that when another officer had arrived, he knew something was off, so they called to investigate the investigative team. He said, "This doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't. I don't think your son did this to himself." Jared agreed and said Sean would never hurt himself. Now, we already know the house was on lockdown and the remaining family members couldn't go inside. One neighbor, an older gentleman who lived alone, the one with the non-operational cameras, brought 8 folding lawn chairs so that Via could sit. He hugged Via and told her he was sorry. An older gentleman across the street looked on, but would pretend to be busy if his gaze was met. Interesting. Nosy neighbors. It seemed like the entire neighborhood was watching. The investigators went through, took pictures of the house, took pictures of the back swing, and began to look around and document their surroundings. The family has not been given access to these pictures. A neighbor, Michelle, has stopped by with some pizzas, and the kids ate on their front steps. The female officer asked for Jamie's name and phone number in case they needed to update on the kids. Jamie gave the officer her cell phone number. While loading to the car to transport the kids to another location, a female neighbor walked over and insisted on talking to Maria. She was really skittish. Jamie kept telling her to leave. She seemed to be well-intentioned, but something was really off. She kept walking away and walking back, just trying to talk to Maria. She kept telling Maria everything was fine. She would be fine. Jamie asked her to stop approaching Maria, and she and Ramona's boss took Via and the kids to a hotel on the Langley Air Force Base. They all sat and waited for Ramona and Jared to return, knowing that Sean was gone. That's very weird. That's very weird information too. Like, so you have a friend coming up to Maria, or a girl coming up to Maria trying to get her attention, but Maria's like, back off. But that could be anything too. I don't know what that could pertain to, but that is a little strange. But the sister, Maria drew like a sketch, but 5-0 didn't take the sketch, but it was to explain or to give a good breakdown of what actually happened here, and they didn't bother to take the sketch. Why didn't they take the sketch? That's just strange to me. That doesn't make any sense. So post 8, because we already did 9, but we're going to do 8 here too, which is just very, very strange. This whole thing's very weird. Again, 5-0 is not doing enough, in my personal opinion. There should have been more, in my personal opinion. So the 20-minute drive to the hotel on Langley Air Force Base lasted an eternity for Ramona and Jared. Shock and confusion was setting in. Ramona would painfully cry out for her son as soon as she came to terms with reality. They mustered up whatever strength they had left and made their way to the hotel room to reunite with the rest of the children. Long hugs and kisses were exchanged. It was clear that no one knew what to say. Jared's phone rang, and he walked away to take the call. Ramona scooped up her youngest son, who had been bouncing around on the hotel beds, and asked him what he did with Sean today. He said a friend came over and was punching Sean, and then proceeded to demonstrate punching motions with his fists. Jared finished the phone call and announced that the investigators had cleared the house and they could go back in. It was practically midnight. How could they have been done so soon? Did they even want to return the house without him? A family decision was made to return to the house. They packed up and drove home. So, again, one of Sean's friends. That's just very strange. Okay? They pulled up, and nothing seemed out of place. The neighborhood was eerily quiet. From the outside of their house looked untouched. It was hard to believe that anything had even happened. Was this real life, or was it a bad dream? They grabbed their kids and walked inside. A few things immediately felt out of place, but they couldn't quite pin it down. Everyone gathered in the living room as they tried to think about next steps. Ramona went slowly into the kitchen and noted the peach bowl on the counter. She then noticed the 2 trash bags tied up on the floor and Sean's Crocs upside down on the floor in front of the bags. She opened the trash drawer and saw that it was lined with new bags. Sean had gathered the trash and put new trash bags in and left the old bags tied on the floor. She pointed this out to Jared. She also noticed 2 additional garbage bags on the floor, all ripped up. She picked one of them up to take a look. Strange, she thought. These aren't ours. The bags were picked up. The bags that she picked up had bluish handles, which we talked about here, and she only bought bags with red handles. These bags also had large rips in the middle on the side. Whose bags are these? Why are they ripped? What's inside the bags? That's what I'd like to know. If there's something inside the bag. This all felt wrong, and they were all uncomfortable. More things felt out of place, but everyone wanted to go to sleep. Ramona and Jared walked upstairs to look around. The house felt hot upstairs. The heat was set to 85. Who touched the thermostat? Ramona proceeded toward the bedroom and gasped when she entered. In the middle of the path from the bedroom door to the attached master bedroom was Sean's underwear on the floor. Jared ran downstairs and grabbed gloves and a large Ziploc bag, and Ramona picked up the underwear and bagged them for the investigators. This was really puzzling. Why would Sean's underwear be on the floor in their room? Jared's dresser drawers were also open. What happened in this room? Jared called the police immediately and asked them to send a patrol car because they didn't feel safe. Well, the person who hurt Sean came back. That's exactly what I thought. I'd be like, I'm staying at that hotel. I wouldn't have gone back. I would have stayed at that hotel, y'all. Let me keep it straight real. Jared locked all the doors and barricaded chairs against them, like the photo we just saw a second ago. They both could not believe that they had ever invested in a security system. How naive of them to feel so uncomfortable, so untouchable, so safe. All the kids, including Sean's older sister, Maria, went to lay in their parents' room that night. They all tried to rest, but no one could settle. The room was filled with tears and quiet sobs. Ramona stood up and went into Sean's room. Her eyes drifted to the top bunk, and she saw his disheveled, unmade bed that he jumped out of the morning before. She saw his AirPods charging and wondered where the investigators had found his iPhone. She was told it had been found in his room, but where? Why wasn't it on him? She grabbed one of his hoodies and held it close to her chest, hoping it would provide some comfort. It did not. She sobbed and heaved for hours, afraid she might never sleep again. What happened to Sean? You know, this is just like I said, and we just saw the fingerprint part. All this information that they've given out, it's weird that they give out all this information and then no one says like they have all this information. They're giving this information to 5-0 and no one's doing anything about it. That's what's so strange about this too. That they gave information, evidence, etc., to go, hey, here's some more information, here's some pieces of stuff, so that you guys can get closer to finding this person, this monster that possibly had done this. And these guys weren't taking the information, weren't taking her drawings. They allegedly gave the 5-0 the underwear, Sean's underwear, and they didn't do anything with the underwear. It just, like I said, this is just not mathing for me. It's just not mathing for me. So weird. LM, thank you so much for the 50. Can I donate to your fundraiser without buying a shirt? The shipping to Sweden is a bit expensive right now for me, but would love to donate. That is a very good question. I mean, oh boy, let me think about that. I've never had that question before. That is a very good question. I mean, I would just say just you can always donate to to the actual foundation if that's what you want to do, which is totally understandable. I mean, because if you're not going to order the shirt, I don't know what other ways. I mean, you can always PayPal the show, and then we can put that towards that fundraiser as well. That's another option that I'll say out loud, of course. You know, it's just so crazy. Of course, there's more, which is just strange. More strange stuff here, guys. I'm gonna read one more of these. Silenced. So it was the afternoon on the day after Sean had passed. Nothing seemed to make sense, and they couldn't figure out any of this was even real. Before the investigators had left that day, they advised Ramona and Jared against disclosing details of the incident to anyone. Rumors were flying as neighbors whispered about what had happened on Sandalwood Lane. Why wasn't this on the news? Concerned community members called the sheriff's office and were told that there was nothing to be afraid of. The sheriff's office sent investigators to the high school to assure the staff that there was no threat to the community. I disagree. And an enormous amount of time and energy was directed towards controlling the narrative on the day after the death rather than toward an investigation. The investigators had called Jared a few times that day to talk about the items that Sean was dressed in and also about the bag that was found on his head. They explained that it was a silver slash gray bag with black. I don't even know what this is. SHOEI on it. I don't know what that is. Immediately, Jared thought of the old motorcycle helmet bags he had in the garage in a pile for Goodwill. And he and Ramona went out into the garage to see if they were missing. There was one missing and one still there, but missing the string. So that's probably what he was suspended with. Someone had taken the string out of the two bags and suspended Sean, but left the second bag in the garage. This made them really uneasy. Jared and Ramona are both in the military, and every military family knows how much equipment each member gets over the years. Sean knew there were boxes and duffels of ropes, cords, and military grade 550 paracord all over the garage. If he needed an actual rope, he knew where to find one, as the family used them often for various projects. It seemed like someone literally opened the door to the garage in a rush and grabbed the first thing they could find. They also noticed that a bunch of their boots in the garage had been partially unlaced. Had someone tried to take the laces and realized it wouldn't work? Did they try to put the boots on him? Sean also had his own drawstring gym bags in his room. Why would he not use one of those? Why would he not grab a necktie while allegedly dressing himself in his stepfather's clothes? The choice of materials baffled them. The investigators asked Jared about the clothes found on Sean. Ramona had taken pictures of Sean that night in the hospital, but only the dress shirt he was wearing. They didn't have any pictures of the denim pants, as they were not on his body when he was brought into the ER. The investigators described the pants to the family, and they sounded like a pair of Jared's pants or a pair of Jared's jeans, but they were never shown in a picture of either pants or the belt. They have never identified them and still have not been given access to that discovery. Why weren't the investigators canvassing the neighborhood? Why weren't people being asked for their security footage? Shouldn't we be pulling every camera on the lane to see if there were cars or walkers in the area at the time? Why hasn't anyone done anything? I'd like to know that too. It's so strange. Like I said, so many questions and the lack of effort from 5-0. As the afternoon rolled by, Jamie left to go gather her own children from school. As she stepped outside to leave, she received a call on her cell from the investigator who had questioned Maria the night before. He asked her if he remembered her. She said yes. He told her that this was an open investigation and that she was not to speak to anyone about the case. He told her that meant no calls, no gossip, no social media. She started to feel sick. He told her that he had been flooded with phone calls that were impeding his ability to do his job. She hadn't spoken to anyone other than the school guidance counselor that morning. She had spent the night that Sean passed lying awake in bed, wondering how she would ever let her kids ride or walk in the neighborhood again, praying that her security system covered every inch of the house. Were they really not going to tell neighbors what happened? Why was this all a secret? Like I said, this stuff is weird. And she's like, and he's like, you cannot tell anyone. Do not talk about this. Do not bring this up. Do not say nothing. And she's like, what are you talking about? I've only talked to the guidance counselor because of my kids. Just letting you know of what happened. Again, the stuff in here is not mathing to me at all. Okay? Not at all. But I got a couple things I wanted to show you guys because this is another piece here too, which is just strange. Not strange. This is from the mother speaking. Okay. And this is the ongoing question here. What happened to this young boy?
Experience. They have never seen something like this before. Then please do me the favor and turn it over to the state police or FBI, who do it all the time. We just had amazing vacation. He just got back on a Sunday. It was the reward for the kids. He had got all A's. He was in a very good spirit. It was like a regular day. And my mom comes out. She's like in a hurry. The doctor's office called and said, hey, she needs an EKG. But the appointment is only 25 minutes. It's a safe neighborhood. And she said, Mom, don't worry. I got it. You know, I love babysitting. He was reading his book later. I could see he had pulled it out. Mom, Sean is not answering the door. Police and ambulances just went by and fire trucks. And I was like, my stomach dropped. The chair wasn't exactly next to him. Please didn't ask many questions. I told them Sean didn't do it. He was killed. That first night, I told them all. I need to see where's my youngest one. He was like an exhausted doll. He opened his eyes. He was all sweaty. It looked like he had been crying. Personally, I think that he woke up from the hustle and bustle, what was happening. I saw all kinds of stuff in the house that was out of place. I froze because I was like, that's a huge handprint on the door. That's not Sean's. Hand was not from the outside, but from the inside. And it was the left hand. I saw some splatters that seemed like small blood things that I asked them to collect. Sean definitely had blood on when I did the picture on his hand, but the officer, she washed it off. The belt was tied around my son. Oh, they said, oh, he probably tied it himself and all that. So why there was no DNA on the belt? 4 weeks later, taking fingerprints. 4 weeks later, after we raised hell. 4 weeks later, going around the neighbors asking if they saw anything. I screamed in the hospital saying my son was murdered. There's something really wrong. When I walked into our bedroom, I literally almost walked onto Sean's underwear. They were there. Sean never, ever in his life has taken his underwear off in my bedroom. There's no reason for it. And it was across from my husband's clothes, and my husband's drawers were opened up because Sean was dressed in my husband's clothes. So was the ambush in his room then, and then he dragged him, or they fought all the way to our bedroom. So he was interrupted. Did they wrestle to get up the stairs? Did they fight their way up? I don't know. I think that someone saw something, and I think not just one. I think a couple people saw something, but I know there was no real investigation. If you ask the parents to find the person who did it, and we are not investigators, there's a problem. They're asking me to find the person. We don't want to investigate, just say it. I have a text where it says, it's time to move on and live my life. I know we have really good neighborhood, and I know people want to help. They just don't know that we are asking for help.
Yeah. Question is, what really happened to Sean? What happened to this young boy? And what's crazy is how the family, or how 5-0, I'm sorry, has reacted to the family's questions, how the family's done their own investigation, because they do feel, and I agree, they do feel that there was foul play in the taking of this young boy's life. None of it makes sense. But why is 5-0 so lackadaisical about this? What's going to be one thing that's really going to grind your gears here, guys, in just a minute? We're not going to watch this whole thing because it's long, or it's longer. But it is 5-0 reacting to the family's concerns, and of course the community stating their concerns around this mysterious passing of this young boy. But how they respond is absolutely mind-blowing. Again, it's finger pointing, denial, and it. I'm gonna let the video speak for itself. Take a look at this.
Death of a 12-year-old on April the 14th. Recent statements have caused concern in the community that the death of a 12-year-old on April the 14th, 2022 has not been fully investigated by the sheriff's office, and that there may be a killer in our area that poses a threat. Nothing could be further from the truth. It has been the long-standing policy of the York Pocosin Sheriff's Office to not release information relating to cases of suicide, particularly those cases that involve children. We do everything within our power to preserve the privacy of the grieving family. We take these matters very seriously, evaluate all evidence, and consider all possibilities. The York-Pecoshin Sheriff's Office is aware of a recent social media site created to provide the public with theories surrounding the death of this 12-year-old. Much of the information being posted to this social media site is opinion, innuendo, and fabrication, which is not consistent with the evidence that was collected by Sheriff's Office investigators during their investigation. Once that evidence was collected, it was submitted to the Department of Forensic Science for evaluation and later to the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner. By law in Virginia, it is the Chief Medical Examiner's responsibility to determine the manner and cause of death, which they, the Chief Medical Examiner's Office, determined to be a suicide. In addition, the Sheriff's Office met with the family on multiple occasions and gave them the opportunity to discuss this investigation. Additionally, an offer was made to have a group meeting after the findings of the Chief Medical Examiner's Office that would include the family, members of the York-Pecoshin Sheriff's Office, and the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner. As of this date, the family has not expressed interest in scheduling the meeting. Instead, they chose to post this video publicly. There were several key points that were made in this video that the Sheriff's Office will address. First, in the video, the mother said, "They have told me a few times that they really don't know how to investigate this kind of murder case because it's really complicated." The implication being we, the York-Pecoshin Sheriff's Office. That statement is absolutely not true and was never made to this mother. Our investigators are recognized in the Hampton Roads area as professional, caring, competent major crimes investigators. They have investigated and solved numerous cases that include homicides, suicides, rapes, and robberies. They have several decades of investigative experience within the division. The investigation divisions consist of graduates of the Virginia Forensic Science Academy, which has certified them as crime scene experts. Along with processing the scene and interviewing witnesses and the family, investigators interviewed a significant number of people to include surrounding neighbors, lawn care personnel, school officials, friends of the 12-year-old, and other community members. The results of these initial interviews did not identify any potential suspects.
Okay. What in the, and this is just 3 minutes in. He's got a 10-minute, this is about to be a whole 10-minute thing. You tell me, does this look like a police officer that's being diplomatic? Is this an example of being diplomatic about a community that is up in arms about the passing, the mysterious passing of a loved one, of a young boy, in a town and in a community that probably never really sees this kind of crime in their front door or in their backyard, for that matter? She goes up and does a video, the video I just showed you guys, and basically is talking about the information that they have and the questions that still have not been answered. And instead of them actually going and actually just trying to level with them, have a conversation, so on and so forth, they go and do a video to basically retaliate. It's like she comes up with her diss track, and now they're kind of doing their rebuttal. You feel me? Oh, here's our rebuttal. Like, you ain't ish either. We tried to talk to you about this, that, and the third, but you didn't want to talk to us anymore. Well, that's because you guys aren't doing anything. You guys aren't doing what you're supposed to be doing. There is no way on this God's green planet that you can sit here and say that you did everything to find out what's going on. There's a whole lot more that you could be doing to find out what actually happened to this young boy. So just because you interviewed his friends, students from the school, so on and so forth, the landscaper and all this other stuff, that means it's done? You just go like this and your work here is done? I think not. I think not. This is ridiculous. She comes out with her thing because she's trying to keep this story and this case alive because you guys killed it. She wouldn't have to do that 5-minute video talking about this, trying to find justice for her son, trying to find at least the truth of what happened to her son. If you guys were still doing your due diligence and trying to do everything you can to find out what actually happened. But instead of you actually reaching out to the mother or the family, reaching out to the family, you do this. You know, there's a lot of things that frustrate me when it comes to 5-0, and it's all about how they handle civilians, the emotions of civilians. Like, we've had other cases, we've talked about many other cases on this show, but there's been other cases of families being very passionate, enraged, saddened, trying to find out what happened to their son or their daughter in the whole hashtag justice for whatever. And then you'll have these investigators or these other cops calling them up being like, stop, let it be, push on, keep it moving, stop talking about this, the case is closed. Instead of actually trying to come to approach them from a place of understanding, from a place of empathy. These are people that are losing, that have lost someone that they loved. All they want are some answers. All they want are something closer to the truth. And right now, the evidence lines up a completely different narrative than what law enforcement is allowing to put out here, what they're allowing to see for themselves. To me, this is very lazy. This is a very, very lazy, very complacent police department that thinks that they can do something like this in response to a grieving family that just wants to find the truth about their son. This is just ridiculous. How dare you go and try to condescend a family that's trying to find out what actually happened to their son? You know what? Here's the other thing too. Just because, let's just say all the investigation, all road signs lead to he did this to himself. Let's just say that. You telling me that the family still doesn't have a right to be inquisitive? To ask these important questions on what actually happened to their son, regardless if he did this to himself or not? How dare you look at that family in such a way, with your nose held high and being so condescending? How dare you? This is a family trying to find out what happened to their son. I applaud that family for not sleeping on this case, because they clearly have. We'll continue more.
Also, during the course of this investigation, the family provided information on individuals they believe may be involved in the case. Their suspicions were based on people that they merely believed to be in the area at the time of the incident. These individuals were all located, interviewed, and ruled out as persons of interest by Sheriff's Office investigators. The evidence collected and documentation shows many discrepancies in the version that was put forth on the family's page. The videos and photos you see on their social media site are not from the actual scene. They have been fabricated. First, the video of the man walking in front of their house is from 1 month after the incident, not the day of the incident. 2, the blood spatter image depicted in the video was not from the scene. However, we went back to the home on May 20th, 2022 at the request of the family. During that visit, the mother pointed out a red stain on the wall in the upstairs area of the home. Investigators photographed that stain on that date. Later, investigators reviewed the photographs that were taken on April the 14th, 2022, the day of the tragedy, and that stain was not present on that wall on April the 14th, 2022. In the mother's video,
come on.
She states that her 2-year-old child witnessed the events that occurred in the house. During a recorded interview on April the 14th, 2022, between the mother and Sheriff's Office investigators, She stated when she left the house that afternoon to take her mother to an appointment, the child was asleep. When she returned home after the tragedy had been discovered, she is quoted as saying to the sheriff's office investigator, quote, "Thank God he was still asleep," meaning the 2-year-old. The information that she stated in her video about the 2-year-old has never been disclosed to the sheriff's office.
Okay, so now they're basically saying everything else that this family has put out here has been a complete either lie or fabrication. What in the hell? The other thing too, sorry, I'm rolling this back. Where does this actually have a timestamp, a date? Because you can basically put this up and say, oh yeah, we shot this on the 14th. I'm just saying. Come on, y'all. This is some BS. I'm sorry. It's ridiculous. And then here it is, though. Let's play devil's advocate, okay? Let's play the other side of things. Let's just say the family is fabricating this. Let's just entertain that for just 2 seconds. Why would they do that then? Why would they do that? Why would they add more? Why would they add more to the case? Because the family's not willing to admit or come to terms that their son was depressed, that the son was dealing with mental health issues that they didn't know about? I don't think so. Why would somebody add more stuff to a case? Why? To your own loved one's demise, to their case, why would you add more? If it's an open and shut case, why? It's not mathing for me. So you got 5-0 who's sitting here saying that they're just making things up and that these photos and these videos and all that stuff are all fabricated stuff. So now you're basically saying that this family is just a bunch of liars. You're accusing them of making things up. Again, I implore every single last one of y'all that are watching this show right now. Riddle me this, Batman. Why would they add more stuff to this case if it weren't true? So these accusations are crazy, in my personal opinion. I'm not sitting here saying that this is all lie. Like, I'm not sitting here saying that maybe one of the things is from a month before, or a month after, and all that stuff. But you can't tell me that this family is just making this stuff up just to have fun. You got two decorated officers, okay? One is about to work for the Pentagon, if she's not already working for the Pentagon now. Air Force officers, lieutenant colonels, if I have the ranking right. Why would they waste their time adding more stuff to their son's case? Again, this is ridiculous.
Meaning the 2-year-old. The information that she stated in her video about the 2-year-old has never been disclosed to the sheriff's office. In the mother's video, she stated there was mud in the backyard, even refers to it as swampy. And she noted that there was no dirt on the 12-year-old's feet. Images from the day of the incident on April the 14th show that the grass was not wet and the yard was not swampy.
But you can still get dirt on your feet. Look at this photo one more again. Come on. If he was found right here, okay? If he was found right, look at all this. That's dirt. That's straight up dirt. Like, this is stupid. You're telling me you could definitely have dirt on your feet standing in this dirt, walking through this grass, this dirt. Your feet aren't going to be clean. Trust me. Trust me. When you were a kid and you were walking around, say you were walking around barefoot and you were walking back into the house, your mom is going to be like, you better not track no dirt in this house. You better go get that garden hose and hose your feet off before you walk in this mug. I just cleaned I just mopped the floors. You out of your mind. Come on, y'all. Y'all out of your mind. Come on.
It was not wet and the yard was not swampy. There have been many statements on this website regarding the alleged staging of the scene. The photo of the backyard displayed on the social media site shows a swing set and a chair. It's important to note that the swings that are wrapped over the top post of the swing set and the chair were moved by York County Fire and Life Safety personnel in order to create enough space to render life-saving measures. The chair was moved from its original location under the swing by fire and life safety personnel where the 12-year-old was hanging, to the front of the swing set, and the swings were moved to provide workspace. Our investigation determined that the chair was originally located on the deck at the rear of the home and was moved to the swing set area. Also, during the course of our investigation, DNA samples were collected from the cord that the 12-year-old was found suspended from. This cord was not a shoestring. It came from a motorcycle helmet bag that belonged to the stepfather that had been previously located in the garage. The 12-year-old's DNA was the only DNA found on this cord. Specifically, the DNA swabs were taken from the knot placed in that cord, and the only DNA on that knot belonged to the 12-year-old. In the video, there's an allegation that members of the YPSO, the York Poquoson Sheriff's Office, washed blood from the 12-year-old. At no point did any member of the Sheriff's Office clean or remove any blood from the scene or the child. At the hospital, investigators placed bags over the 12-year-old's hands prior to him being transported to the medical examiner's office. This is common practice to prevent the loss of any potential trace evidence. Based on the fact that the family was telling us that neighbors had information that they were providing to the family about possible suspects, our investigators went back to interview those neighbors, and none provided any additional information or new investigative leads. There is a statement in the mother's video about the unusual location of the 12-year-old's underwear. The clothing that the 12-year-old was wearing when he was located that day belonged to his stepfather, to include the stepfather's shirt, pants, belt, and stepfather's underwear. The 12-year-old's underwear were found in the same room where his stepfather's clothes were kept. In the video, the mother states that someone from the York Poquoson Sheriff's Office sent her a text that stated, quote, "Time to move on." To our knowledge, that statement was never made. We have done some research and have not been able to locate a text message telling the family to move on. The only text similar to this was a text between the investigator and the mother, where the mother states to the investigator, quote, "It is time to heal." Several theories were presented to the Sheriff's Office investigators by the family. The first theory provided to the family about what happened that day stated that they believed that this was a burglary, and during the burglary, their 12-year-old was sexually assaulted and murdered. However, Sheriff's Office investigators found no evidence of an intruder, and laboratory and medical evaluations of forensic evidence sent to the laboratory found no signs of sexual assault. The second theory presented by the family was that this was carried out as a military-type operation directed at them, the family, due to their rank in the United States Air Force. And finally, they identified 3 different people based solely on speculation that they frequented the neighborhood. All 3 of these people were located, and Sheriff's Office investigators eliminated them as persons of interest in this incident. We did not address every inconsistency or fabrication from the social media site. We conducted a thorough, professional, and exhaustive investigation. There is nothing whatsoever to indicate that there is a killer in our community. As I stated at the beginning of this video, it is our policy not to discuss these issues in public, particularly when they involve children. However, the social media site has caused great concern within our community. We still extend an invitation to the family to meet with members of this agency and the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner to discuss the results of the autopsy and our investigation.
You know, this response video, if this makes any sense, is very strange, because at the end of it all, it doesn't matter. At the end of it, you have a family that's trying to, and now a community that is trying to find actual truth on what actually happened to this young boy, to Sean. What happened to Sean? And I feel like that's going to be the ongoing question until they actually get, unless 5-0 gets off their butt and actually does their due diligence. Now he says, oh, we've done everything we could. We've done everything in our power to do this, that, and the third. Sounds like you guys didn't do enough. Still to this day, this kid's story, this kid's case is still closed, and still questions have not been answered. To me, this piece does not make any bloody sense at all. And I wish, and I'm hoping that they get closer to the truth. But I implore you guys, please check this stuff out. There is a change.org petition right here, of course, explaining what's going on. They are trying to reopen this case right now as we speak, so that they can find justice for this young boy. If there's justice to be had, let's be real. If there is justice to be had, then we need to find ways to help bring justice for this young boy. If there is justice to be had, okay? And of course, there is also a GoFundMe account going on right now. They are trying to raise $20,000. And they're just basically saying there are no news stories or mention of Sean's death besides his obituary on the internet. From the beginning, they have refused to investigate this as anything other than an unaliving of oneself. We have hired an entire investigative firm out of pocket and are pushing for the local sheriff's office to turn this case over to the state police or the FBI to investigate as a homicide. Please help us get justice for our son and take a possible monster off the streets. So there is a GoFundMe right now as we speak, readily available if you are interested in donating, so that they can actually bring justice for this young boy. All things that come up when it comes to these clues scream to me, it is screaming to me that there was foul play in the passing of this young boy. Nothing tells me otherwise so far. I will say this though too. Again, you heard 5-0 say his piece, the chief say his piece, basically saying, hey, we've done everything we could. We are here now to debunk all this information that's been on this website or on this blog, this community page on Facebook. All of this has been, we're debunking it right now. Here's before and here's after. This was fabricated. This is fabricated as well. Well, I keep asking you guys out loud, would any family add more stuff, more evidence to a crime or to a case that wasn't really there if it was just a situation of their son passing by their own hand? If he did harm to himself, and that's all it was, why would this family add more to the story? And again, You have a family, okay? You have a family. You have two parents that serve this country that are ranked, I guess, a lack of a better term, high-ranked officers, okay? If I'm correct, lieutenant colonels, again. I want to make sure I'm saying that I got that right. But you have both of them that are both in the Air Force, that work obviously very, very hard. They're in this they're in the military, for crying out loud. Why would they add more stuff? Why would they sit there and challenge 5-0 and say that they're not doing their due diligence? Again, to me, the math ain't mathin' with this one, y'all. To me, this is straight up and down like 6 o'clock screaming at me, foul play. Could this be an inside job? Is law enforcement involved and they're just trying to cover this up? Could that be it too? Could the person who did this have connections with law enforcement, with that local PD? I guess we'll never know unless we sign the petition and we keep talking about this story on social media. Because the only way that this family can get closer to finding the truth out, and for all of us to find out what the truth is us talking about these stories. Period. Period. You know, it's so frustrating, the story. Because, you know, my heart goes out to the family. My heart goes out to that little boy. I don't think he did that. I don't think he did this to himself. I honestly believe that he did this, or that he possibly was fighting for his life. You got to remember, you have a 2-year-old boy who apparently is on the spectrum, has autism, but that doesn't take away his credibility. This 2-year-old boy is saying that he saw a person chasing Sean around the house, hitting him, and then suddenly he's found outside, suspended from a swing set. To me, the math ain't mathin'. To me, I'm trying to make this make sense for myself. It all roads still keep pointing down towards foul play for sure. Anyway, guys, that is the show. Again, I hope we're going to get closer to justice for this family. And let me say this too. How dare that 5-0 come out with that kind of video, speaking in that kind of way? I'm sorry. It just irks my soul. Okay? It just irks my soul. I'm not with it at all. I don't like it at all. I don't like it at all, y'all. But hopefully somebody out here knows something, you know? And my fingers are definitely crossed, okay? Anyway, guys, that's the show. I appreciate all y'all for being here, being a part of the conversation. Woo! It was a long one today. I'm going to have to stretch and stuff. Don't want to pull a hammy. But anyway, I hope you guys all enjoyed your day or enjoyed the stream, enjoyed the show today. I wanted to talk about this one, but like I said, I knew it was going to be a big one, and I wanted to have more time to spend on this particular subject, because we need to find justice for this young boy. We need to find the truth about what happened to this young boy. And to me, it doesn't seem like, it just seems strange. It just seems very, very strange. And hopefully we get some answers here very, 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 very soon. So anyway, guys, if you guys can do me a favor, if you enjoyed this conversation and enjoyed the show, please hit that like button down below. Crush it. Make it scream out your name. And of course, if you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe button. All right. We're marching our way towards 100,000 subscribers, and it'd be great to have you a part of the Pascal Show family. So please go and hit that subscribe button. Also, please do not forget, okay? Please do not forget to check out pascalmerch.com. We got some really, really great stuff over there. We got some fundraiser t-shirts and hoodies readily available, some for Suicide Awareness Month and also for DV Awareness Month. Please go check those out. Check them out. Go shopping. Got some other hoodies and t-shirts over there as well. So please go check it out. That'd be greatly appreciated. Anyway, it is time to get going. I appreciate all y'all. Thank you so much for the super chats and the mods. Thank you so much for holding it down. As always, you guys are all incredible. And to everybody's watching, you guys are incredible as well. Anyway, it's time to get going. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Be good to yourselves. Oh, wait a second. Kimberly, thank you so much. Kimberly in Japan, thank you so much for the 300 yen super sticker. I do appreciate that. Thank you so very much. If there's more developing information about this story, you know for a fact you're going to hear it right here on the Pascal Show. But like I said, I'm hoping that not only this channel, but many other channels start talking about this story, because this is a mystery and this is a story that needs to find truth fast. And I'd love to get this family on the show so we can get more in depth about everything too. Anyway, guys, I appreciate all y'all. Okay, it's time to get going. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. Man, I need to say that. Like, I need to emphasize that. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. There's so much craziness going on out here, y'all. Too many people getting hurt. Too many people hurting other people. So please be good to other people. All right. And I'll see you guys in the next show. All right. And thoughts and prayers go out to Florida as well. Oh, and Coolio's family. May he R.I.P. You know what I'm saying? Sad news, guys. Gangsta's Paradise's own Coolio no longer here. Anyway, it is time to get going. You keep JM Brink. Thank you so much. Hop back on to add a plus up to GoFund Pascal. Thank you to GoFund Pascal. I'm confused, but thank you. No, to the GoFund Pascal. Got it. Now I get. See, brain's already shutting off, so I'm sorry. But JM Brink, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Thank you so much for the GoFund Pascal. I appreciate that. Thank you, because this episode probably will not be monetized at all because of the subject matter. So if you guys, I have to say shameless plug, but if you guys want to give a little super love, in the comments and all that stuff in the replay, that would be greatly appreciated, of course, as well. This is how I keep my lights on. So any support is really appreciated. But anyway, it is time to get going. I love you guys. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. And I'll see you guys in the next show. All right? This is the Pascal Show. Bye.